My name is Seyeon, and Seyeon Hwang, and I'll be doing an interview with you at World Relief Jacksonville, Florida today. And can you please tell us your name and spell it out for us?
Is Jennie, that's Jennie, Fernandez, that's Fernandez as in zebra, and then Beltz, that's B as in boy, ELT, and Z as in zebra.
Okay, thank you. All right, now please pick 3 topic cards here.
So this is like what my story is going to be like?
Yeah, we're just going to have you start on any topic that you choose.
School for sure is going to be one of them because that's what got me to where I am today. I don't know, I was thinking family, what happened to get me here. And then mainly the main part is the journey to get here because it wasn't it's a plane ride. It was not simple, so I don't know what that it will be. Maybe safety, because that's I guess so. I don't know.
That's it?
You said 3, right?
Do you want to pick more?
No, I'm just saying that I'm trying to follow rules. I'm trying to.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of these.
I don't know, maybe here, instead of safety, USA, but same thing.
Okay, so, I'm sorry. Ooh. So, you're free to tell us a story about on the topic of the 3.
Anything? So, I'll start a little bit about how even my journey to the USA came about. Because I was 7 years old, and my father, he was in the military in Cuba, not by choice, but because, you're mandatory, and he kept on not doing things and being extended his time that he had to be in the military. So, he is a really smart man, so he was helping them with a lot of stuff. But he never agreed with the government, so he really wanted to leave. So he actually crossed an embassy and asked for political asylum in an embassy, the Peruvian embassy in Cuba, when I was 7 years old. Went through that journey, and one day I woke up, and I'm an only child. It was just me, my mom, and my dad, but I was really, really close to my dad growing up. And I just woke up one day and my dad was gone. And I knew that he was not going to be around. Some things, just knew that he was gone. So even after that, it was really hard because in the school and everywhere else in the neighborhood, we were called scoria, which is like trash. And so people started congregating in the streets below our house. And we lived in an apartment, so it was a 3rd floor, and we had a balcony. And so I remember being a little kid and hiding in there, and people throwing rocks at our windows and calling names. And the building in the bottom had glass doors, and it was a whole wall of glass to get into the building. And they put names for my dad, that he had sold himself for a pair of jeans, and my mom, that she was a whore. So all kind of names written down. And so being 7 years old, and people are screaming at you and calling your father, who just left, really bad names, and saying that he was just a terrible person, and calling your mom. And it was I think at some point we were hiding in one of the times it got so bad, we hid there for days. And like I remember, like in the middle of the night, people would bring us food and leave it outside of their door because they're not allowed to like really, like once you get associated with the escoria or the trash people, like then you're trash too. So yeah, that I remember that. And then we went to one of our friends' house who's also had their father left, and same thing happened. We were just all like, again, they started throwing rocks at us, and we were just stuck inside for a while. Like you couldn't even go outside. And then going back to school, finally after this, and like my friends were not allowed to talk to me because, I was just, bad by association. So, and it was really hard because here I am, this kid who always wanted to be the perfect child and the perfect student, and I was always at the top of my class. And I had to deal for all these years of, just the fact that my father, not just my father, but after my father left, pretty much my whole family left. My mom and I were one of the only ones that were stay behind. My cousin with her mother, all my uncles, all my aunts and uncles left. All my cousins left. There was one cousin that stayed with her mother. She was married to my uncle, but he left. But most everybody left. So my whole family had left. So we were just scum. And so I had to deal with that at school, like of people just not wanting to relate to me or not being allowed, to relate to me. And teachers just not treating me right or not really, I couldn't do anything right. And here I'm this kid who I always been a teacher's pet. I'm always wanted to be the best student in the class. So just that rejection from the teachers was really hard on me. And I mean, with that came just the fact that I had like a cross that I used to wear hidden. And, part of communism, they don't allow you to, back then, I guess now it's different, but they wouldn't allow you to have religion. So one time the teacher saw, like I was running around and the chain just popped out and she just ripped it from me. So that still is one of my childhood memories too, that to me was really hard. It was just all these teachers that did not like me or did not know, even though I worked so hard to always have the best grades and be in the top of the class. So we tried to leave several times, but we were just, having my dad have left. At the beginning, they just would say, well, your dad had to come here and get you, or like your dad has to sign, because, so they kind of made it really hard for me and my mom to leave. So we got stuck there for 7-8 years. And in Cuba, when you finish 9th grade, you kind of decide what your next path in the academic world is. Either you finish school in 9th grade, a lot of people just do that, or you go to technical school if you really want to, have a skill or a job. Or if you really are going to be going to a university, you go to what they call pre-college. It's actually not called, it's not here, it's like high school, right? Like it's actually the name itself, in Spanish, it's called preuniversitaria, which means pre-university. So you really only go there if you're going to a university. So a 9th grade, everybody gets ranked. So you get ranked from the number 1 to the last person on the list. And then you choose where you want to go for school. So you want to go to pre-university, or you want to go to a specific one. There's one called the Lenin, and the Lenin is where like all the smart people go. Like if you want to be a doctor or an ambassador or somebody, like that, you go to the Lenin because that's, the top high school in the... So it's not like they're like neighborhood high schools. It's kind of like Havana, which is where I grew up, has like a few high schools. And if you get a spot in one of them, you just go there, and many people just actually stay there. They just sleep there and everything. Some of them, or some of them you go away to another city and you sleep there. So it's not like, because not everybody goes there. It's not like something that you are like privileged or something that you get to do it. Like you have to apply and see if you actually get it, right? So I was ranked like number 1 in the whole school. So I, wanted to go to the top high school. But with that came that I probably was never going to be allowed to leave the country ever again, because once they spend all that money training you to be a doctor, be something like that, it becomes even harder to be able to leave the country. So I think at that time it was like my mom and, we sat down and it was kind of like, what do you want to leave? And I said to her, I'm always going to leave. I'm, just waiting till the right time. But even growing up, I always knew that I was not going to stay in Cuba. I always knew that I wanted more. So she called my dad, and he's been here for all this time. And he had to save money. He sold, some of the stuff he had and stuff. And I think he had a house at that point or something. He sold that, and he brought me and my mom. But you couldn't just buy a ticket from Cuba and go to the United States. That was not the way to do it. So back then, people were allowed to have visas for Panama City. Like they were giving out some visitor visas. So we stood in line for many days, for hours, to kind of get a Panama visa as a visitor to go to Panama. We finally got one, and we were really excited. And we kind of left. My mom and I left to go to Panama. And so the plan was, we got to Panama, and then after we were in Panama, my dad had other contacts already set up. Again, it's just, you need money for this stuff. It's not like, So we were really privileged that my dad was here for a while and had saved money. But we were supposed to then find another way to go from Panama to the United States, in a plane, which sounded pretty easy, right? We're just going to be there for a little bit till we could find a way out, and, maybe some weeks or something. And my first time ever taking a plane, going into any kind of trip anywhere. You don't just travel in Cuba. I'd never even been to the other side of Cuba. I was in Havana, and that's about it. So, vacation is just going to the beach, which right in Havana, or a little bit more, one of the beach areas. That's what vacations is, just doing that. But, so, to me, it was kind of, this adventure. Well, it really became an adventure when we were there, and this is 1987, and Panama, after we got there, Noriega happened. So there's all this political uproar happening, and I remember, it was a really big deal for me to go to a mall for the first time in Panama, because there's no malls in Cuba or grocery stores. So we were just walking around trying to see what malls were like. And there was malls with remember, we were in this area with a lot of shopping areas. And this mall had floors. There was floors where you went from one floor to the other, and there was more stores and more stores. And I was in this wonder I was 14, almost 15. This is a summer, before my 15th birthday. I'm an October birthday, so I would have been turning 15 in October, or I was turning 15 in October. And this was the summer before. And so I was just trying to, not that we could buy stuff, but it was just looking at all this stuff. It was just wonderful. So we're walking down, and all of a sudden, the main street, there's a tank with men and with rifles. And it was extremely scary for me to see this. We're in a foreign country. I already had to say goodbye to everything I knew, everything I ever knew as a child, the person, my friends, my schools, my country, my stuff, And it was like, I'm going to have a life. I'm going to have finally see my family and speak out my mind. And as a 14-year-old, I still was very, I wasn't top of my class. I always wanted more. I wanted to pick whatever career I wanted to be. And speak my mind and be whatever I wanted to be and have rights and not be afraid all the time and travel the world. Oh, that was a dream of mine. I always wanted to travel the world. I always wanted to go everywhere. Like, remember, like as a kid, I wanted to be like work in embassies and travel around. And, you can't do that in Cuba. You can't do nothing that the government doesn't tell you to do. You just do whatever they tell you. You follow the sheep. You go and study where they tell you to, or you live where they tell you to, or just do. Like, there's no rights. You follow whatever you're told. And I've never been a follower. I've always been like this, had this hunger to do more and know more and question things and know why are we supposed to why am I supposed to be afraid to say what's in my mind? Why am I afraid to have dreams or, decide what I want to do? So I'm in this country. And here I gave up everything because I'm so close to go to the United States. And then this happened. And there's things, and we don't even know what's happening next. And we tried to call my dad in the United States, and he doesn't even want to tell us that all the plans, everybody he had contacts with, that's all gone. Everything has changed. And we're truly afraid, because we don't know a lot of people there. So my father had this contact, and it's kind of like the country, I guess, because we were in Panama City, and it was a city, and so it's kind of like, I don't think it was that far. I actually should go back and kind of now as an adult see where I was and what I did. That's actually something that's a goal of mine. But it was hours away from the city. And my father finds this old lady who she rents a room for us to keep us safe until everything is settled down. Till we know what we actually can do. Because we're foreigners. We're not supposed, we had a visa that was only supposed to be like a visa. We're supposed to be there and then come back to Cuba. And we're not going back to Cuba. That's the whole point. So he finds this lady, and then we just go and we just stay with her. She's just renting us this little room. And so here I am now. I'm not in Cuba with my friends and what I'm used to. And I'm not in the United States with my father and my dreams. I'm in this country, which even in Cuba, I was in Havana. I'm a city girl. It's like the streets are all dirt everywhere. And there's pretty much everything looks like a shack. And Havana is not like, it's, every building is pretty much in ruins now, but they're beautiful Spanish buildings from it's a city. And no, we're just living in this kind of shack. There's, it's really, really hot. And we didn't have air conditioning in Cuba, but now we're like in this country and in this shack, and it's so hot. And every night, and this lady had like a little fan, and we rented a fan from her to be able to use the fan because she wouldn't let us use electricity, because and we paid her extra to be able to use a fan at night because we were sweat so much. I remember sweating so much. And so once we fall asleep, she would come to a room and take it off. So we would wake up and be in sweats, and I started developing rashes all over my body. And I started developing this white, thing in my scalp, really thick, almost dandruff, but it was just a really thick layer of it. So you could see the white all over my head. And I think it was just mainly because I was I just didn't see us ever leaving this place. I didn't even know if we were ever going to leave. This is, even to like get any food. Like we had to like walk down this dirt road, and there was this little tiny shacks, and they sold like little things. And so it was just really, we were there for 3 months, and I was just holding to the last hope that we had, that things are going to work out. That it's just, we're going to get to the other side. But I remember feeling like the darkness of like, what about this is my life? What about if I lost my country, but I'm never going to have anything else? Like, I mean, I didn't even know if we could even go back to Cuba. So when we were there, we met this lady, and her 2 kids were there too, and she made some contacts. She was this very rambunctious woman, and she found some people that could get us out. And she just found people, and the scary part is she promised, like, her husband was also in the United States, and so was my father. So it was all kind of like, when we get to the other side, we'll pay you. Like, you know, it was, and so it was kind of like you're kind of putting your life, like, you know, like, you know. So we, so she finds his contact, and they said, okay, we got fake passports for you guys. They took our pictures, and they make 5 passports for us. We were supposed to be, I think, my mom and I were from Venezuela. And, you know, so we all got passports that they found, and I don't even know, but it's again, all about whatever, you know. So we had to memorize this passport. So here I'm a 14-year-old, and I have to memorize this passport because I'm supposed to become this person, whoever she is, that's in this passport of mine. And then, you know, the day gets there, and we go to the airport, and we have a ticket for Mexico. And we're going to Mexico, so the fake passports to take us from Panama to Mexico. So we get to Mexico, and here we are, and so this lady and the kids go first through customs, and they get through the customs thing, and then my mom is there. My mom just got really nervous, and she's like, you're a 14-year-old, you're more likely to get through. Why don't you just go in front of me and just do it by yourself and just keep on walking? And if you just don't even look back, I'm going to be behind you, but just keep on walking. You just tell them whatever we already review, everything that we already, you know, do. You memorize everything in your passport, but just go. And if I'm not in the other side, you stay with that lady. That was the longest few minutes of my life. I'm there, I'm telling the guys everything and smiling. He puts the stamps, lets me through, and I'm walking, and I can't look back, and I can't see if my mom is coming or not. And it just felt like an eternity. And, you know, finally she just touched me, and I looked back, and we're still not in the United States, but that in itself was a big relief, that little part. Of course, it's not over, because we're still in Mexico, and still, like, everybody tells us, like, if you get found in the border, you know, you can go to prison, and young girls get raped. And so part of the arrangement is we're going in a tour bus from Mexico City all the way to Chihuahua, which is the border town. So we get put in this bus, and we're in this bus for a very, very long time. And then we get to Chihuahua, and we're not supposed to talk to anyone. We're not supposed to even do anything. So there's this little hotel, and we get put in a little room in the hotel. It's like on top. And we're only allowed to go downstairs. There's a little restaurant, and that's the only place we're allowed to leave because we're not allowed to go to the streets. So we were there for about a week because, again, the whole thing is waiting. You don't even know anything. There's no plan. There's no dates. It's just we have to wait until we get away to cross the border. So they told us that it's safe. So again, we're in this room, just waiting for the day. And then one day they just come, they pick us up, and then we're in this house in the middle of the night. They pick us up in the middle of the night. We get to this house in the middle of the night, and there's lots of people there. And we're all in the living room, and we're all kind of sleeping in the living room, all kind of bundled up and waiting for the daylight, because we had to wait just till it was just a little daylight so we can cross, but not too late, you know. So daylight happens, and then these guys come, and they have these inflatable boats, and they put us in the inflatable boats, and there's this river, and we're supposed to go in the boat because we can't get wet, because when we get to the side, if you look wet, then they know what you did. So we're supposed to look, you know, like we're belonging on the other side. So I remember being in this boat, and then these guys are in the water, and they're actually pushing us. So I guess it wasn't that deep, because they're actually pushing our boat to the other side. And, I mean, this whole trajectory, all we have are some little bags, some bags that we can carry. So my mom has a bag, I have a bag, and that's all we got. That's everything we had ever had from Cuba, you know. It's a little bag. So we get there, and there must have been a hill or something, because I remember we get to the other side, but I still don't see anything. And then we keep on walking, and we go up this little hill, and then you get to the top, and there's this park. Seriously, it's like a movie. You're like, there's this big park with an American flag, and you know, like you're in America. And we run to the park, and our feet are dirty. Just remember, like, we found a bathroom, and we're like trying to clean ourselves and look ourselves presentable so that we can walk outside and nobody knows what we just did, because, you know, we just did all this stuff and we don't belong. And we're supposed to wait for this taxi, and the guy's supposed to stop in the park, and he's supposed to wave, and then he's supposed to tell us something when we get there. And then we get in his car, and he's taking us to another motel. And when we get to the motel, it's when we're safe, right? Or we can call my dad. We're still not safe, because if they find you, what they would tell us is if they find you in Mexico, in Texas, they still can send you back. So we get to the hotel. We get to the park, clean ourselves, we see the taxi, we get in the taxi, we get to the hotel, and we're there, and then we do a collect call to my dad. And at this point, my dad hasn't heard from us for like over a week. The whole time since we left Panama, we never had access to any phones or anything. So my dad doesn't even know where we are. So I heard from my other family that he just couldn't even work. He was just so upset. Because it could have taken a day, it could have taken, it took a week. So we get to the hotel room. We're like in the motel, and then we call him, and he's in Miami. So he's like, I'm gonna try to get the closest, the fastest plane possible. So I guess back then, it wasn't like now. Like, he bought 3 round-trip tickets, even though we were not going there. We were just coming back. But back then, nobody checked to see who went each way. So he did that, and then I think he got to us like the following day. So we were there one night, and we're like in the top, like, so it's like a motel, but we're like in the second story. And he gets in, and I remember my mom being in the window, we're all like in the window waiting, and I was like sitting in the bed, and my mom is in the window, and she's like, "Your dad is here." And I couldn't even look, because I haven't seen my dad for 7 to 8 years at this point. And I just couldn't go to the window. And the moment he knocked on the door, I went to the bathroom and closed myself in. I couldn't even, I think I was just afraid that this was like a dream, that it was not really real. Or that if I saw him, then it was going to go away again. Or it was going to be gone. So, finally I come out and see my dad, and remember I slept with him that night because we had 2 little beds in the hotel. And the next day he takes me to, like, we're supposed to be leaving that afternoon, but he takes me to the store to buy American clothing because we didn't look American enough. But he didn't want to take my mom because he was afraid that they were going to find us. So I go to the store and buy my mom and I American clothing. And we all get dressed in this American clothes, and then we go to the airport, and we're not allowed to talk. He doesn't let us talk. And we get to Miami. And he... we get to see my whole family again, and it was hard too, because, well, I got here August. I think it was about maybe not even 2 weeks. School was supposed to start. So I came to the United States, and 4 days later, my dad took me to school to register me. And I was just so afraid of this new country and this new culture. And my whole identity, my whole life has been about academics. Like, I'm the smart one of the family. And here, I'm in a country where I don't understand what anybody's saying. And I don't really know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And my dad and my mom are not getting back together. So my whole dream of, like, it's just like nothing ever happened. That's not happening. And of course, still legally, we have to get political asylum, and we have to be in meetings, and still, like, are we going to be allowed to stay? Are they going to just push us back and send us back? But starting high school, so I had just finished 9th grade in Cuba, but I'm an October birthday, so really, I didn't turn 15 till I was here. So really, for them, it was like, well, you still can start 9th grade again, because in the United States, the cutoff is September. So I was actually young for my age to be in school anyway. So they said that the best thing for me was to start 9th grade all over again and do 9th grade all over again because of my age. It doesn't matter that I just finished it. So I had to start 9th grade all over again. And I didn't understand a word. And I had to sit through these classes. Other than ESOL class, everything else was all in English. And it was through immersion. And even though it's Miami and there's a lot of I mean, I don't understand even people that don't go to, because a lot of the other kids knew Spanish, but it wasn't like, so outside of the classroom, I could talk to people. But academics was my life. And I didn't understand a word. And I couldn't get good grades. And I couldn't do what I was used to doing. And I had to, no, this is before computers or anything, right? Because I'm 45. So I got a translation, dictionary. So I will have a homework. And I will go and I will look at every word and I will write it down in Spanish. And then I will read in Spanish whatever the homework was. And I'll be like, oh, I know what that is. And I will like answer it because I've already done 9th grade and so, and I don't know if this is for everyone, but you don't know English, you don't know what to say, you must be retarded because you're going to General Math 1, which is addition and subtraction, and maybe some light multiplication and division. This is the class I was put into. I was into ESOL for English. I was into like just the most basic classes that you can possibly get, right? So I'm like getting the dictionary, translating this stuff and be like, okay, this is the answer. And then I will translate it all back. So of course, when I come back with this stuff that took me 10 times what everybody else took them to want to do this stuff, the teacher would think that probably didn't make sense because I'm translating this stuff 3 times already. And they would just be like, this doesn't make sense. F. Getting an F for the first time was just heartbroken. I didn't even know. But I will go back and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And all I did every single day was know how I could learn English. And just do everything in my, I would read books, and I would like watch English television. I wouldn't even allow we had one little TV. Because my mom and I lived in like a room, it was, they call it efficiency in Miami, but it's somebody's house and they have like a garage and then convert this garage into like a little studio and like a, little kitchen or an AC, whatever. So we were in like a little room, and so we had like a little TV that people just gave us stuff, and I would like change it because she's trying to like listen to it in Spanish, and I would change it back in English so that I could like listen to English, and I just wanted to talk English and do English. So I think the first thing was understanding it. I started understanding people. That was the first thing I got. And then after that, it was just, I didn't care if people laughed at me. I was going to speak it, and I was going to say whatever. And then when people would make fun of me, I said, okay, how do you say it? Can you please teach me how to say it? And then they will repeat it, and I'll repeat it again. Like, I was just not going to let anybody do that. So I pretty much learned English in 1 year. Like by 10th grade, I already was. And so there was one teacher that this was the person that I owe so much to. He was this really short, he was probably my height, and I'm 5'3". So he was a little short African-American man. Didn't speak Spanish. I mean, he probably knew a little bit, but not like very eloquent. So it was not any of the teachers that were like Hispanic and bilingual that really took care of me. It was this one black teacher. And he was my math teacher. And he knew from the beginning. You're in the wrong class. Who put you here and why are you here? And what do you want? And where do you want to go? And nobody in my family is ever going to college. So at this point, it's not like, I'm thinking I want to be this or that. It's more like, well, yeah, I like school and I want more and I want to do something. And so he's like, you're going to go to college. And he says, well, this is what you need for college. You need Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. You can't go to college without Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, to the university. You need to have this English. You need to have this and that. And he just sat down with me, and I'm taking General Math 1. Like, I still have to do all this other math, and I have 3 years, so I will have to jump right into Algebra 1. So he's like, oh, you are jumping into Algebra 1 because I'm teaching Algebra 1 next year, and you're going to be in my class. So he just talked to people, and they're like, she's being in my class next year. So next year, I'm in Algebra 1. I think I did ESOL that year too, the second year, but I'm in Algebra 1, and I'm doing better and getting ahead. I'm still studying nonstop, but I'm understanding things. So I'm like understanding teachers, and I'm understanding stuff. So then the following year, he put me into Algebra 2 honors. And then the summer after that, before my senior year, there was a gifted program in Dade County. So Dade County is in Miami. So it's only one high school that offers it. And they offer honors classes in the summer. So for kids that want to get ahead, right? So they were offering geometry honors over the summer. And it was not really, it was just a lot of kids that wanted to get ahead. So he's like, sign me up for that class. So, and it was really difficult because I don't drive. My mom doesn't drive. And we don't have a car. We don't own a car. We walk, we take the bus. We get, we just get around. My mom doesn't know English. She works, doing nails. And so it was just kind of like, how am I going to get to this gifted program, in another school? So at that, we just find friends and other people in the school that are going, and my dad just said, can you take her? And so I found some place, but it was difficult. It was really difficult. I really wanted to do this, and it was just really difficult to find a way to even get there. But I did it. I did geometry honors, and the following, so for my senior year, I was taking pre-calculus and trigonometry honors for my senior years, from algebra, from General Math 1. So that was my journey. I graduated high school in the top 10% of my graduation class. And I was senior distinction, which is, just a few kids that got selected for that. So it was I just knew I wanted more. I just knew that my way out, I was given the opportunity to come to the USA. We went through all that to get here. So I was going to keep school to do better. So I went to college. I went to FIU. I got a bachelor's in psychology, and I was given the Academic Achievement Award in psychology at the end of my school year, and I got a scholarship to go to UF for grad school. So that's pretty much a little bit of my journey to get to where I am from being a refugee.
Wow, that's when you were living in Miami, how you were a teenager, but you're a refugee, and there was probably already a huge community of refugees in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And did you find support from those communities? How was it?
Yeah, you find support of you find support of living, of like getting along and doing things. But I was different. And I always felt different because nobody in where I lived was going to college or could only care about school. So that was where I felt like I would have so loved being a mentor. And this is why I do mentorships now. Because I didn't know anyone who went to college. I didn't know anyone who, other than my teachers, but I didn't know anyone in my family, my group, friends, my community that went to college, that had a college degree, that had a career. So I had no idea what, other than like being a teacher or maybe a doctor because I went to the doctor. I really didn't know what people did with college degrees or like what were the options or like that you can take a class to study for the SATs or what even the SATs were. Or even like, other than FIU, which was our local university, I never even, I never even knew schools. Like I remember like you have the meeting that you have with your college advisor. I'm in a Miami, inner city high school. My graduation class was close to 1,000 students, right? My class, not the whole school, my class. You don't just get tons of attention like of an advisor where you can meet with them. It's kind of like, oh, you are in this. This is like when you start applying for college, you have a mandatory meeting that you have to do. Are you, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to college? Yes. Okay, what, it's like you don't have tons of time. You don't have someone who's like spending all this time to you explaining like, this is what you do. You kind of like, and again, this is before computers. So it's not like you can like go and Google, oh, okay, what is, like, what do you need to get into college? It was kind of like, they had little booklets at the college counseling office with like, what to do. You have to take the SAT. What's the SAT? I've never heard of it. My parents don't know what it is. Nobody in my family knows what an SAT is. They have no idea. We didn't know how important it was. It was kind of like, the college counselor yelled, yeah, you need to take the SAT. Okay, I need to go to this place and take a test. Okay, I take tests. I'm good at taking tests. So anyway, so she said, you should also apply to UF and FSU. Those are really good schools, and you're really smart. So I'm like, oh, okay. I thought if you're smart, you go to FIU. If you're not so smart, you go to the Miami-Dade Community College. That was the only thing I've ever heard of, right? But there's colleges outside, and people actually go away from their home to go to college. That was such a, concept. So they gave me the application. It was all paper back then, so I fill out the stuff. I give it to her. I take the SATs. And she sends it all in. And I got accepted in all of them. But, of course, for my mother, it's like, oh, that's nice. And, I wanted to go so much I wanted to go to FSU so bad back then. I ended up being a Gator, which is not totally the opposite. But back then, the kids in the smart classes, with me, all the kids that were in the honors classes, that by my senior year, I was taking all these honors classes. I was taking regular English. I wasn't in ESOL by the end of high school anymore. I was taking regular English with kids that were born here. And I was taking honors classes and, all this stuff. And I was in the Math Honor Society. and the National Honor Society. So all these kids are going to all these schools, and all these kids, and I just wanted to be like them. So I just told my parents, I want to go to FSU. And they're like, we can't afford for you to go to college, much less for you to go to FSU. We're trying to figure out if you can get any free money to be able to go to FIU, and you know, but you can't go there. So I think that was my first, like, I was so heartbroken that I just couldn't go away to college like all my friends. It was just, you know. So that was kind of, but nobody else got it because nobody else even tried. Nobody else I knew even went to college. So it was kind of like they didn't know how heartbroken I was that I just really wanted to go there. Like, why would you want to go there? Why do you want to go away? I mean, and culturally, like, why do you want to leave your mom? I mean, you live at home for college. You're not old enough.
How do you think in general, the refugee community view education or school? How do you think they see it? For the children or for themselves?
I think the Cuban community is a little bit more now, and I see the changes because, like, my cousins didn't go to college. You know, they were my age, and they didn't go to college. But now my cousins, not my oldest cousin, but my second oldest, the one that she didn't go to college, and now her son just got into FIU. Again, even though he's smart, he's not allowed to leave home. But still, now they're like valuing more, like, you know, yeah, going to college is good, and you need to go to college. But I think that it was the Cubans that were here from the 50s, the ones that were older, they all valued it back then when I was in college. All of them were like really pushing their kids to go to college. But I think like the immigrants that had just been here for a few years, it was kind of like, it was just this unknown, you know, you don't even know what it's, so it's not like they didn't value it. To me, it was just like they don't know enough. They didn't have enough information to know the value that it actually had. Because I mean, my mom always said, you know, wanted me to go to college, but it wasn't like, yes, you know, college or this or like, you know, or like, it was more like, oh, you're so smart, you're gonna go to college. It's not like, no, even if you're not, you push yourself to go to college. It was more like, I was special.
Do you think there's also restrictions on being a woman? If you're a woman, do you think there's less chance that you'll be given the information?
Well, you probably see less older women. And again, I think with the younger generation now, I see things changing. But back, you know, again, like I graduated in 91 from high school. This was still where it was kind of like, not, you know, you kind of become a teacher if you're a girl. You're a girl, you're smart, you go to college to become a teacher. So that was still pretty much in my circle, which is more like, I was not in the middle class neighborhoods. I was in the, you know, in more of the immigrant, you know, recent immigrants neighborhoods. It was more like, oh, if you're smart enough to get to college, you kind of become a teacher or something where you can get a job right away. Like for me to want to go to grad school, and actually, that was also another thing. But when I was on the top of FIU psychology department, I graduated with, again, academic achievement in psychology award, right? The other people that were middle class, and they were still Cuban, but I mean, or Hispanic, but they were like, their parents were educated, whatever. They were applying to the PhD psychology programs. I was smart enough to apply to a PhD program, but nobody ever told me what a PhD was. I had no idea what a PhD was. And I remember one of the other people in my community that I thought he knew enough about counseling. He's like, you should just go get a master's so that you can, in this thing. Like, like one of the girls that was with me and then my level, she got a PhD in clinical psychology. Looking back, that's where I should have gone. But to me, because I'm from this poor neighborhood and I'm this person that I can't believe you want to go to grad school, it was more like you should just get a master's in school psychology because in 2 years you can start making some money. That was what I was offered. Like that was what people told me to do. And I didn't know any different, so that's what I did.
Do you think if you had been in that other neighborhood, more affluent neighborhood, do you think you would have had the information and resources?
Well, yeah, because later on when I was in college with the kids that were in those neighborhoods, that's where I found out that's what they were doing. Like, at the end and, like once they went and I was like, I never applied to those schools because I never was given, like, you don't truly think that you can do it. You don't truly think that that's for you because you're an immigrant and you're like going to college, which is already like a big deal. Going to get a PhD, that was not really like anybody ever even told me what that was about or that I could do it.
Do you think you could tell us more about the neighborhood that you were in?
Well, it was just...
Name of the neighborhood?
It was just like in Miami, it's like, kind of the south of Miami, like Little Havana and Westchester. It's all like where, a lot of the kind of more, affordable areas back then in Miami were for immigrants. So it was just, and I mean, my mom wanted for me to go to a nicer school than my dad. So they actually, instead of renting a place in the cheaper neighborhoods, they actually put me in, that's why we got an efficient in somebody's house, because that was a nicer house, but we got to live in somebody's room. And that, it was like a side door where you can go in and we were in a room there, just so that I could belong to that school. So, but I never brought anybody home. My friends were not. I was not. When I was in, and it wasn't at the beginning. It was in the middle of my high school that I was put in there, and I was just not bringing friends to my house because they lived in houses, and I lived in a room. And, or an efficient, whatever you call it, and
you also mentioned transportation, and I guess you and your family your mother pretty much relied on public transportation.
Yeah, and actually eventually I started driving and my dad got me a car because my dad didn't live with us, they were divorced, whatever, so he lived far away. So he got me a car, so then I was the only one. So in high school, I was the only one driving. And I was the only one knowing English, so I would go to the bank for my mom and do the accounts, or I would call the people to, and that's the other thing with being an immigrant. In the 4 years of high school, I think I lived in 12 different places. Because it was, we would go there, we would live in somebody's, like I said, it was this room size of the houses, and then they would be like, oh, we need it for something else, and then we had to go somewhere else. We just kept on moving and moving and moving. Maybe not high school. I'm just talking high school and college, which was, I think, 4 years high school, 4 years college, which I lived with my mom the whole time. So we were in 12 different places in 8 years. So yeah, I guess, yeah. So it was 12 places, but it was 4 years of high school and 4 years of college that I still had to live wherever we could find a place to afford to live. And so we moved around a lot.
Was it around the same neighborhood?
For high school, yes, because, at the beginning for the first 3 years, we had to rely on the buses to take me to school. But, so we had to still live in a place where the bus can pick me up. The school bus, and the school bus, and to belong to the high school because I didn't want to change high schools. But but afterwards, when I was in college, we moved around different neighborhoods and different areas and different, just wherever. So
Now that you were able to drive a car.
yeah, because I was driving, so we could move wherever we could afford it. But we moved around a lot just to, because rents will go up and they will come at affordable, or, things would change, and, it was just.
Compared to Miami, how is Jacksonville as a destination for a refugee?
Well, I have experienced Jacksonville as a professional, and I experienced, Miami as a refugee. So that does change things because, but I'm really involved with the refugee community and the Hispanic community. And my mom and I have brought a lot of people here from Cuba that have stayed here with us because Miami is becoming so hard to even get jobs for refugees, and everything is so overwhelmed. So they will come directly here to Jacksonville instead. And they have stayed with us, to live with us until they could get themselves a job and be in their feet. And we've had several young family members from Cuba that have done that they have come on their own in their early 20s. Because it's just so hard to get out. Sometimes you just let your kid go because you can only afford to save enough money to have one of you, really go through this. Because being a refugee and immigration is expensive. People don't realize that all the immigration stuff and everything you have to do is expensive. Nothing is free. Nothing is paid by the government. It's all, you have to pay something, stuff. So, sorry. We have had a lot of young people, actually they're all big girls, that have come, and we have helped them, like my cousin, and she's probably my fourth, fifth cousin, but in Hispanic culture, once you're a cousin, you're a cousin, you don't go with fourth and fifth cousin. So she came, and she is like 20-something years younger than me. And she came in her 20s, and she was in engineering school in Cuba. But if she graduated, she wasn't going to be able to come. So she actually, before her last year, she was able to do the trek and come here. She was able to get the visa. And she ended up, again, she's like me, she was a smart one. She knew that that's her way to get ahead was education. So she ended up finding a nursing program where she was able to go to. And she came here, we got her the audio thing for English. It's one of those that, it's a program to learn English, and she sat every day, hours and hours with that thing in her ears, just listening to English. She self-taught herself English. She got herself to nursing school, and now she's a nurse. And she actually just brought her brother, who is about his age, here, and now he's trying to look for programs to become an electrician. So I think with them, I think things are harder now because of the politics and things becoming more difficult for them with any kind of help in that way. But of course, they already have some generations before them that came here and went to college, so we're helping them. So in that way, they're different. But in Jacksonville, there's just more opportunities, meaning because there's less immigrants. So I think for them, it's just there's more jobs at the low level, because when you're an immigrant and you start here to make some money, you just have to get any job. And because there's so many immigrants over there in Miami, I think here you can get, a lower job. But then in Miami, you can get jobs without knowing English. Here, you have to know the English. So English becomes more of a barrier until you learn it. So that's kind of the difference that I see too, of seeing them go through it now and seeing me, and us going through it back then. It's just some of that in Jacksonville. and that, there's not so many people that speak your same language, so it becomes a little more difficult to find people to help you with things, or tell you when the next Social Security office is, or give you a ride there, because it's so much more dispersed, right? So there's not like all the people that are like the immigrants are all together in these neighborhoods. It's more like you're all spread out. So there's a lot less of the communities of where like people all help each other to try to get, I already did Social Security, you have to do this, or this is how you do it. I think it's more, but there's Catholic Services has helped them so much. They both were help, and that's who told them like where to go, how to do the paperwork, how to get temporary work visas, how to get jobs, how to get the help for school. So there are services here that have helped them, and I don't remember having anything like that in Miami, maybe because there was too many of us trying to get help. So there is,
Have you been mentoring these children?
Yes, I help them with, like now I'm trying to get her, she got an AA nursing, but she's still practicing to be able to make some money, because of course you have to send money back. She was the only one sent, which means she had to send money back home to her mother and her brother, her brother's also in his 20s, so now he came. She was able to bring him here, get enough money to do that, and now he's also getting a course to be an electrician. So she's, so we are, but now I'm trying to get her into a program. This is a girl who was doing one of the best schools in Havana and was top grades in engineering school, right? And here she got this AA, and she's really, so I'm trying for her to finish getting one of those programs that's like a bachelor's and a master's in nursing together, so that she gets her master's in nursing. But it's really hard because there's not a lot of financial aid, even though she's brilliant. But there's not a lot of financial aid available for her, and there's not a lot of, of the things for her to be able to do that. And she still has to make money to pay for herself and pay for her rent, and so that in itself is really difficult. But I'm helping her. I help them. I help one of them. I pay for one of them to go to a firefighting school. The one guy, pay for him to go to firefighting school, and he's a paramedic now. But it's kind of hard because you kind of still have to work and make a living. It's not like you can just become a student and do that. And many of them still have to send money home.
Well, thank you so much for the great story. I really can't believe that you were able to remember so much detail about your journey on your way from Cuba to the United States. And I really appreciate that you were able to share it with us. Do you think you can share with some of your stuff?
So this is all I got left. So I kind of wanted to bring it because, so one of the things is we were not really trying to bring clothing or things for us. We wanted to bring the memories, right? So this is my little doll from when I was in Cuba. So, it's not like in Cuba you cannot go to the store and go buy toys. You get a little coupon, and once a year you get a coupon, and it's like a lottery kind of thing, and you're given a number, and the number, it's like your spot in the line, kind of your spot on when you're gonna go get your toys. And it's like you get 3 toys. You get a big toy, a medium toy, and a small toys. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the store in your day, and you're making this long line because you got this day, right? That's the day that you get. But everybody has to get there early because then you make a line, right? And then you get there, and there's a section for the big toy, a section for the middle toy, and a section for the small toy. And you have to give your coupon for each one, right? But sometimes you will get to the big toy area, and it was all done. So then you can give your coupon, you can give your big toy coupon in the other sections, right? And big toys, like a doll, or like a, that's big toy area. The little toy is something that kids now throw away because it's trash. It's like a little tiny sticker thing or something. That's the little toy. So once a year, this is as a kid, this is what you're waiting for. It's your day where you're going to go and you get your kind of lottery. What number do you get to get your toys? So dolls are passed down generation to generation. Because you have a doll, you take care of it, and then eventually your child gets that doll, and then your grandchild gets the doll, because you cannot buy dolls everywhere. So I got this doll when I was a kid, and this was my doll that I had my whole pretty much childhood. So I got to bring that with me. That's the doll. This is my sweater that my grandmother did for me. She did most of my this is where I got out of the hospital with, and she made it for me. And so, it's not so much you buy things sometimes, your family makes the stuff for you. So my grandma she was really good sewer, seamstress. So she made a lot of my clothing, and this is, she did these things for me, and then she made this for me too.
Oh, she's so talented.
She was very talented. And again, this is what I got out of the hospital with that little sweater. And this is just my baby clothing that she made for my mom when I was a baby. That was kind of like, again, you don't go to Babies R Us and whatever buy you baby clothing. She kind of made all my clothing. So this is all the clothing she made for me. And then this is what I wore for my first birthday. So she made that for me for my first birthday. And she made this one for me. And again, this is baby clothes. And then this is little pillow. It's a different outside, so it wasn't this kind of wild print. It was actually baby blue. But I've had this pillow since I was born. And I slept with this pillow every day of my life in my childhood. And through the journey of being through 3 different countries to get here, I will hold this every single day. And this got me through so much growing up because it was like, and even when I came here and I was going through all these challenges of high school as an immigrant, this is what I will hold all the time because I've had this all my life. And yeah, I think my mom found this material and put it around it when I was in high school. So, because I kept on holding it, and the other one was like falling apart. There was like holes in it. But actually, it's still inside. I should have taken it out because it's the baby blue from my childhood. It's still inside because I wouldn't let her like get rid of the clothing. So this was put on top to kind of protect it. And then I just brought a few pictures. We don't have a lot of pictures. I had like a little bag, like a plastic bag with my pictures. So, but I just went through there today and picked a few that kind of were, this is me and my mother.
Oh.
When we were little. Growing up, when we were like alone in Cuba. It was just the 2 of us. This is,
Is your mother still with you?
Yeah, she lives, yeah. So this is my school uniform. This is in Cuba, you wear the school uniform. And it's all about patriotism and the flag colors. And so this is my uniform. You don't own a camera in Cuba. So these pictures are very like, special occasions. Somebody took them for you. This is my school in Cuba. This was like my birthday party. And at the school, my mom went there and brought some stuff, which was really, really special because, again, you don't really, It's not like you can go to the store and buy cake and ice cream and things like that. So, this was very special.
Was it your home?
This was like the most special of my birthdays because I actually had to have soda. This is in the school. Mm-hmm. And we actually, like my mom was able to find some soda and hats. Mm-hmm. So this is the only time in my life I had a birthday party with soda and hats. So, as a child, before I got here. Again, this is me. As a studious me, that all I ever did was study. So a lot of my pictures had to do with me studying and me reading or me doing things like that. Because that was my whole life. There's this one just because it's cute. And this is me at 14 right before I came to this country. This is what I looked like when I was doing the journey of coming from the U.S., from Cuba to the United States.
If you didn't own a camera, if you wanted to take a photo, how would you do it?
Well, this is like, they had like people that took pictures for you and charge you, so it's kind of like a little, you kind of go to the studio once like a year or something, you have pictures. Some people had like some little cameras, so, again, now people have it because people send it from here, but back then, it was like photographers had camera. Mm-hmm. Like you had to, if you have cameras, because that's what you did, you took money. So this is actually me. This is the luggage that I was leaving to Panama. We were not able to bring that. I brought that to Panama, but from Panama to Mexico, because we were crossing the border, we couldn't have luggage. But this is the day that I left Cuba. This is everybody who went with me and my mom to the airport to say goodbye to us. And this is me. It's me. Mm-hmm. This is my mom. It's me, my mom, and that's the luggage that the two of us brought with everything that we could bring with us to Panama. And of course, after that became a little bag because we didn't know. We thought we had to take a plane from Panama to, back to the United States, but ended up we had to go through a border, so we couldn't.
And this is at the airport?
This is at the airport in Cuba, as we were leaving to go to. We thought it was just going to be an easy journey, which turned out to be not an easy journey. Mm-hmm. So
you think
that's it.
We can have the photos here, and then you can zoom it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing all this today.
Oh,
really appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'm going to put them by order. Oh, that was my. This is the same.
Do you think it's okay for us to use some of these footages in our video? So cute.
Is this your classmate?
Yeah. I don't actually even know who she is. But that's the only picture I have that's a color picture with my uniform. But I don't even remember her. But I was like, oh, I got a color picture. Which I don't even know who had a color camera back then. And I'm talking, I left in 87. So by 87, still nobody had color cameras. Mm. It was like black and whites. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we were a little behind times.
Thank you for bringing all
this is great.
Oh, thank you.